Hello, and welcome to today's episode of Souls Outside, number 3. Today, we're going to open by talking about the KAV of clothing, how your personality influences your clothing choices a little bit. Before we welcome on Cynthia Roemer, who knows far more than I do about fashion and how to dress for your body type and all sorts of amazing things to blend your inside and your outside together. And then we're going to wrap up, which she's going to actually teach us some tips on how to let go of perfection in your wardrobe, as well as some really cool resources to dive in deeper. Stay tuned. Welcome to Souls Outside, where we're all about finding the trail to stay true to your path. We do this by inviting featured guests on every show to share with you how you can follow in their soul prints, so you can choose which trail maps you need to continue on your journey. My name is Shannon Pohl, and I'm loving having navigated my own pivot from engineering to now being a master results coach and hypnotherapist, plus a forest guide who loves getting outside so we can learn from the nature, foster stewardship, and really amplify our successes by being outside in nature. I'm so excited to have you join today's episode. Welcome to Souls Outside. All right, welcome to our opening segment of our third episode. Today, I'm super excited to introduce you to Cynthia Roemer later on. And before we get her on, I thought we'd talk about how to KAV our wardrobe, which really means we're going to learn about primary representational systems, which are a trait of all humans. We all have a primary representational system, which impacts and influences our choices about what we wear, what we do, how we set up our rooms and our offices, our environments, whether we like to hug people or not, just a lot of different things. So today I thought we'd just go over a quick overview of this so you can start getting an idea of your primary representational system. We do have a quiz if you're interested to learn more. And as we do any type of personality assessments, tests, quizzes, we just always put out the qualifier of remembering that it's whenever you do one, it's a snapshot in that moment, and they're all fluid. There's no you are a kinesthetic primary representational system, and therefore you shall always be that. No, that's your primary representation system, and you can learn strategies in all areas. So it's never about limiting ourselves. It's only about learning about our nature so we can nurture them to be who we are, which is one of the things Souls Outside is all about, is how can we nurture who we are, our personal natures, by following the soul prints of other people. Today, we have someone who can share us wardrobe tips. So wouldn't it be helpful if we knew a little bit about where we're starting from? I think so. All right. Primary representational systems. There's 4. 2 big ones. So 40% of the population are kinesthetics. So these are people who care about how things feel. You can start to notice whether you are or other people around based on some of the words they say, because that's one way it comes out. This is a really great, if you can figure out people's primary representational systems, when people are getting really frustrated or angry or stressed, everyone defaults to their primary representational system because that's where they're happiest, they feel safest, they're the most cuddliest. FYI, I'm a kinesthetic, hence cuddliest works for me. But that's where they feel the safest. So they'll default into those spaces. So just another application of this knowledge. So 40% of the people are kinesthetic, which means how things feel, talking about things being cuddly or soft, and texture. We really like textured walls. For those of you watching on the video, this is not a textured wall, it's fairly smooth. However, the pillow that's next to me is very soft, which is a huge portion of why I bought this pillow instead of a different pillow. Visually, it's one of my favorite artists. She puts some of her artwork into pillows. So visually, I love it. However, I could have chosen a rough textured pillow or a very soft textured pillow. Hands down, I was clearly going for the soft one. Okay? So when this translates into clothing, it means that kinesthetics, how things feel, is the most important criteria. Doesn't matter how good the thing looks. If it doesn't feel really good, we're not buying it. Now, contrast that with 40% of the population who's visual. They are going to care how something feels. However, for them, it'll be more about fit, and does the fit look good? So a kinesthetic would care, does it feel good on my body? Does the structure feel like it fits? Whereas a visual person would say, does the look fit? Does the look right? It's the visual component. So they're the ones that boggles my mind, but will show up at a Major League Baseball game in stiletto heels and like the tight skirt and shirt because that's how they look good. Whereas I'm going to be wearing my Birkenstocks or pair of runners because who wears heels to a baseball game? Answer, high visuals, because the look is important. Now, not all high visuals will wear stilettos because for some people they'll want to look more baseball-y. So they might have the really cute baseball outfit going on. Some people looking like, oh my goodness, that looks amazing. And look, they're going to choose things that fit based on how the fit looks, versus kinesthetics would be like, yep, that feels like a good fit. High visuals are also the ones that really, really talk really fast because they can just see everything that's happening. Something to keep in mind. And when we're talking about our primary representational systems, something I'll also highlight is when you're asked to visualize things, if you've ever done meditations like we did in the last episode, or how we will in other future episodes, I always invite people, instead of visualizing things, to imagine, because how we imagine is going to be different based on our representational systems, which kind of makes sense. So visuals, 40% of the population, will actually visualize things. They will see a picture in their head. Whereas the kinesthetics we talked about, we don't always see pictures. I will say for the longest time, I just held it like a vibe in my body that I'm like, oh, yep, that's happening. Yep, that's also happening. As I've done more and more meditations and guided hypnosis sessions, and just working with that, I now see pictures some of the times, a fair bit of the time, but it wasn't my starting place. I started with feeling it. Now, 20% of the population are auditory. And so that means, when they're imagining, they may actually just hear sounds. There might be a sound that happens that chimes in their minds, that they know something that's happening. In terms of wardrobe, like we're talking about today, they might like things that sound good or sound silent. If you've ever walked in a pair of heels that click along the floor, I didn't go for those for the longest time. That was my test buying shoes when I was little. Do they make a sound, squeaking or clacking? None of that had to happen. So maybe that was a little bit of my auditory strategies chiming in. In terms of wardrobe, there's not a lot. Like it might, how it sounds. But in terms of wardrobe, yeah, again, if there's sounds to it, they might like them, they might not like them. They're going to maybe go a little bit more on like what kind of comments people might make about them, or if it fits with what they perceive the sound of a situation to need. And then a subset of auditory is auditory digital. So that's 20% of the 20% of auditory. So a very tiny portion of the population is auditory digital. And these are the people that is all about the data. The numbers, give me the data points. It's lots of logic and knowledge and just give me the straight data points. Which, when I first learned about primary representational systems, this fascinated me because, coming up through engineering, you would think that all engineers are auditory digitals. That's a stereotype because there's a lot of data involved, just like anyone in sciences really. However, really, it's only 20% of 20% of the population is actually true auditory digital, where they really just care about the data. So that's where during an imagination exercise, they might just see streams of data or feel the streams of data, just know that something's happening. In terms of our wardrobe, that's where you get people that you don't know how they put their clothes together, but they've got on pants, they've got a shirt. That was the criteria they needed. They have on pants and a shirt. What's the problem? oh, it's too big for me. Oh, the colors mismatch. Whatever. I have on pants and a shirt. Now, I will say for me, I've shared that I'm primarily kinesthetic. That's very much when I'm in times of stress or stress, I'm snuggled in a blanket, I'm with pillows. I mean, again, for those of you watching the video, I'm surrounded by pillows right now on my bench. I like pillows, I like being cozy. Um, in terms of wardrobe, I do lean on people like Cynthia to help me with tips. But I also have a lot of AD strategies, partially from coming up in engineering and the maths and sciences. So I will use the criteria points that I learned from people like Cynthia who have the visual strategies to put together pieces that work together as long as they feel good. So there's a little sneak peek into primary representational systems. Like I said, we've got a quiz, so reach out if you want to take it to see what it is, and stay tuned so we can learn about Cynthia's journey and get some more tips about our wardrobe. Okay, so today we're welcoming Cynthia Roemer of Awaken Your Goddess as our featured guest on today's episode. And I'm really excited because she's going to give us some really cool tips for our everyday wardrobe, which I very intentionally wore the same shirt as our last episode because that has been one of my challenges, especially with self-isolation and working from home so much more. And sometimes I forget what I wore the day before to the next day. So I'm super excited to have Cynthia join us today to give us some tips about being a powerful woman and also how that can come through our wardrobe. Now, I have known Cynthia for a few years, which was evident when I asked her when we were setting up for this interview what nature meant to her. And she shared that it makes sense that it's just about being your authentic you, and that it correlates to being outside in nature, bringing you back to the authentic you through Mama Earth's healing frequency and taking that crazy away, which I just loved because I read that. I'm like, oh, my heart is happy because that's such a similar philosophy. So thank you. Welcome to this episode, Cynthia.
Thank you, Shannon. It's great to be here.
Excellent. And so I wanted to show the nature piece. And the other thing I discovered when we were setting up for this is that you started out your path in investments,
Yes.
which shocked me.
Me too.
So I was wondering if you could share a little bit about how you got from investments to the now empowered goddess.
Yeah, it's a journey. It's definitely a journey. Well, you know what? A little bit about me. I definitely grew up being, I'm going to say, the classic nice girl. I never questioned the path that I was told to be on. And so, truthfully, I was always interested in fashion. And when my parents were like, your sister went to university and you're going to university, I just said yes. I didn't question it. And so at the time, I was actually in sociology in university, and I was also, very suggestive, where I had a boyfriend at the time actually say to me, you're never going to get a job if you stay in that path, so you've got to go into economics. And I did. And I will say it was very challenging for me. I never had the passion for it. And so we know when we don't have the passion for something, it makes it kind of tough. And from there, I grew up in Waterloo, and I had a friend say, hey, this investment firm is looking for a receptionist. Do you want to interview? And I was like, sure. It was one of my first real jobs. And from there, I just sort of went along the way and very quickly realized it wasn't what I wanted. Yeah.
Because that was your first big pivot, I believe. That's when we went into image consulting?
Almost. So from there, I allowed myself to step more into the creative part of me, which really did want to learn more about fashion. And I had this, ability to, choose things and style people up. And so I ended up enrolling in some courses at Ryerson, and I moved from Waterloo to Toronto. So I, came to the big city. And from there, I wasn't able to get a job in fashion. I didn't have the experience. So I again, I fell into my next path, which was actually fundraising. So I worked for a nonprofit in the healthcare industry. It was a great start. I realized how much I love helping people. So in many ways, it was a good fit. It was just a little bit too, I'm going to say, institutional for me. So at the time, it was actually my boss. She said to me, hey, you should see if you can find a charity that has to do with fashion. And sure enough, she actually was the one that put a job posting on my desk.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, that was pretty neat. And then from there, I went on to another charity, which really allowed me to step into where I am today. I was sort of given the opportunity to create programs and start public speaking. And I was very, very shy growing up, so it was a big leap for me at the time. And I persevered. I always took the opportunities. And from there, I ended up taking image consulting because I was also teaching, tips for dressing to impress in the workplace through this charity. And from there, I took image consulting. I was also doing some styling as a personal shopper at Square One. I did that for a couple seasons. So I got to put my feet into everything, which was actually really good for me because I like to experience new things. I don't really like the sameness. 10 years later, I made the leap. I was kind of done teaching what I was teaching. I was looking for more. I was introduced to NLP, timeline therapy, through a weekend event, and that really started my business as to where I am today, and took the leap. And here I am as an entrepreneur. Yeah.
Very cool. What a cool path. And so much that people listening can follow as soul prints that we can get from economics through a few different iterations of different good jobs that with each one you really stepped more and more into who you are today. I'm going to guesstimate that was about awakening your own goddess, since that's the name of your company.
Yep.
And can you share a little bit about why awaken your goddess? Why are you doing your now job?
Am I doing my now job? Well, I love making an impact with people, and there is nothing more fulfilling than taking someone, who really needs assistance and is really stuck in a problem, and helping them get to their solution and completely step into owning their power, and asking for their needs to be met, and all of these awesome goddess qualities, where women step into empowerment. And I can't imagine doing anything else.
Very cool. And so is that what you mean when you say you have to really awaken your goddess, stepping into all those traits?
Very much so. I find that a lot of women, their voice has been shut down pretty much their whole life. I tend to work with, classic nice girls. And so stepping into that space of really honoring what they need, what they want, learning to set boundaries. These are all huge, skill sets that we're not born with. We have to allow ourselves to step into that space and really own our power. Also slowing down. I find a lot of women have a hard time slowing down, and myself being one of them. So it's constantly giving myself and these women the space to actually do what you want to do and just be still. So it's really cultivating that feminine aspect of ourselves versus constantly being in the doing, which is more the masculine.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm more intrigued to learn more about that. However, today we are going to focus a little bit more on the wardrobe pieces. I can say that kind of an entry point to awaken your goddess, starting with your clothes and switching that up. So I know, one, you have a gift for everyone listening and watching, the 7 steps from powerless to powerful, tips to match the inside and outside. Thank you for offering that to everyone today. And I'm looking forward to, in a few moments, we will learn about what archetypes we're bringing into our wardrobes and how to look powerful in our everyday wardrobe. And maybe a little bit about how I can remember that I wore the purple shirt yesterday.
I can help with that.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you for joining us for a chat, and we'll be back in a few moments to hear more from your wisdom to be able to follow in your soul prints. All right. Welcome back, everyone. We still have Cynthia Roemer here from Awaken Your Goddess, and I'm super excited because she's about to share with us how to let go of some perfection with our wardrobe and some tips for feeling good and looking good, which is a bit of a sneak peek into the gift she has for everyone. 7 steps from powerless to powerful, tips to match the inside and your outside. So, Cynthia, I'm super excited to hear what you have to share with us today because I know I can always use wardrobe tips.
I am very excited to share. Very, very excited. Yeah, so you know what? I'm going to start by introducing us to a term called archetype. And I like to think of archetype as a filter that we live our life through. Some of you may be familiar with Carl Jung. He used the word archetype in psychology. I'm going to actually use it in reference to a spiritual teacher who I absolutely love and really consider her to be a wise woman. Her name is Carolyn Myss. She's really who I learned about the archetypes through. And, you know, as we go about our day, we really step into these filters or these archetypes. So have you ever opened your wardrobe and you're like, wow, I have 10 black t-shirts. Why am I doing this? Why did I buy another one? Or maybe it's, oh wow, I have nothing structured in my closet. Everything that I have is flowy. Or this one is me during the wintertime. Wow, I have 25 oversized sweaters and a bunch of leggings to go with them. Have you ever found yourself in that space, Shannon?
Oh, definitely. Yep.
Yes. And so that's because we are drawn to certain aspects of these archetypes when we're getting dressed. And I'm going to just use a couple in this example. So one of, you know, the most common ones, and of course we're going to talk about goddess, you know, is goddess showing up in your wardrobe? When I think of goddess, you know, she has a beautiful flow to her. There's elegance. She can also be classic. She's always well put together. And, you know, there is this flow where she just, it's like she's moving and she's completely in sync with herself. And so, you know, the more that I worked with women, I came to see that they had patterns in their wardrobe. So they might have said, oh, I really want to show up as this, you know, powerful goddess, or, you know, stepping into this role as guide. And what ended up happening is a lot of their wardrobe may have been in, I'm going to use the example of maiden or servant. Now, there's a very, very big difference when we're dressing as maiden. You know, there's a very youthful aspect to it. And in some ways, it can also be too youthful and not being taken seriously enough. So when we think of goddess, you know, she's really owning it. She's owning the power and it's being projected through her wardrobe. And so what's really interesting is we tend to fall into a couple different archetypes. And so for me, I know that I can completely miss goddess when I want to be way too comfortable. Now, as much as goddess has flow, there's really nothing goddessy about, you know, throwing on a potato sack, which many of my sweaters look like that. So I have to really be aware of what I'm actually putting on, because it's a mood that I'm actually putting out there to my people. Just like you were saying, you're struggling with self-isolation, working from home. It's like, what do you wear? And I noticed, other people might not notice, but you do have a skirt on.
I do.
You have a skirt, and you also have, it looks like it's like a sports top.
Oh, it's one of my more outdoors shirts.
Outdoors.
Thematic on this one. Yeah.
Right? Absolutely. Absolutely. And so what I love about that is with the skirt, there is some flow. There is some femininity. You really have brought the goddess into, which archetype would you say is the outdoorsy for you?
My guide, mostly.
Definitely. Nice, your guide. And so we're able to still pair it together. And so you can still feel all those attributes of goddess along with the attributes of guide. And it's a really important thing when we are, you know, getting ready to put ourselves out there. So when I think of what are the really important things for wardrobe, there's a couple tips. The most important tip, if I had to say, is to anchor yourself to positivity. And there's a couple ways that we do this. We do this through wearing something that's comfortable and something that fits. There's nothing worse than wearing clothing that we're completely incongruent with, and then suddenly we lose all of our self-esteem and we're putting out, projecting an image that really isn't the true us. And so this is where I say, let's stop, comparing ourselves to the supermodels out there and just honor our body shape. And we can work with all of them. Not enough time to do that today. We can do that though. And so it's really, allowing yourself to be comfortable. Another thing with anchoring to positivity is wearing something that already makes you feel powerful. And for me, this is one of my power pieces. And it is amazing how I instantly change the minute I put it on. So association is a really important thing with accessories, even a pair of shoes. It can completely change our physiology and then change, whatever we're putting out into the world. The second thing that I want to just mention is dressing with intention. So actually knowing, what am I doing today? How am I showing up today? What do I want to accomplish today? Because we do that through our wardrobe. We only get 7 seconds to make that best first impression. That's fast.
Really fast.
That's really, really fast. And so, you'd have to make that first impression another 10 times if we mess it up. And we don't typically get that opportunity. So it's really important to, think about, what role am I playing today? If I know that I want to show up powerfully, then I'm going to leave my, maiden outfit, which might be like, I'm going to use the example of a sundress. I need to put on something more powerful, something that has more, structure, more lines to it. I'm showing up in a very, very different way. And another piece to that is color. Color theory, it matters. At the unconscious level, we perceive dark colors with power, with authority. There's a reason that when you walk down, Toronto's Bay Street, it's the financial district. There's a lot of money. There's a lot of power on that street. And typically everybody is wearing a dark suit. Lighter colors, we project a lot more neutral, calm. You can still be an authority and wear light color. You don't have that edge with particularly that dark color. And then remembering, brighter colors also represent things. So I know that you're wearing purple, which is a symbol for the unconscious mind, which is very connected to the work that we both do to create change. So it really does matter. It really, really does matter.
Very cool. I'm not. I can say my brain is full. That's so much awesome that you've just given us in such a short time. I'm so excited now to check out the 7 steps from powerless to powerful, because there's so much more in that. Is there anything else you want to share and wrap up, or?
Yeah, you know what? I think let's stop comparing ourselves to other people and just fully honor who we are as women, and recognizing that, your clothing is an extension of you. And so is, your mindset. So, I want to help women by matching their inside to their outside, or outside to their inside. Both are really, really important. And so, if you've got a big meeting or a presentation, talk powerfully to yourself before you go into it. It's going to assist you. We're powerful with our words.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for joining us today on today's episode. It's been really amazing, some of the tips that you shared, and really just opening up that conversation more to why we even want to care about what we wear. Because I know there's some days I'm like, I just don't care. And that some days, even if I don't really care, I still need to put some thought into it and use some of your tips to match what I'm doing that day.
Awesome. Glad you enjoyed.
Yes. Excellent. So thank you once again, Cynthia, and everyone be sure to check out her 7 steps from powerless to powerful.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. Enjoy.
Thank you for joining us today on Souls Outside, and we hope you enjoyed walking in our featured guest soul prints as much as we did. As always, we like to wrap up each episode with our extreme gratitude and appreciation for our founding sponsors, who quite literally made it possible for Souls Outside to become a reality. First off, special thanks goes to Eche Savas and her company Palindrome Design for the amazing cover art, and noting that their sponsorship comes in support of their passion project, Self-Build Sustainable. We'd also like to thank Chuck Henry for his amazing music, original music, that is featured throughout the episode. And of course, Elise Cannon, our amazing editor, who quite literally made it possible for any of these episodes to see the light of day. They probably would still be on a hard drive on my computer without her expertise, skill, and passion for editing. So we thank them so much. And until next time, we hope you enjoy your journey and continue following in the soul prints of those who have gone before. Hey, one last thing before you go. If you wish you could talk about this episode with myself, our featured guest, or other like-minded individuals like yourself, join us on Facebook or LinkedIn in our Souls Outside Facebook and LinkedIn groups. On Facebook, we do watch parties. Both have awesome conversations about what we talked about and are able to answer your questions on how you can go even further on your soul print journey. See you there.